Hi, this is Dr. Cynthia Elise Smith, and the doctor is in. Hi, I'm Dr. Cynthia Elise Smith, and I am an anti racism, anti white supremacy educator and essayist. We're specializing in essays and presentations with alternative views on race as color, race as character, racism, and white supremacy. I offer deeper, more critical perspectives on these subjects, including, and this is important, the potential implications of racialized wording in the U.S. language lexicon that are not ordinarily considered. Now, I'm not here to change anybody's mind. However, I am here to make you think critically about the subject matter I'm about to present. And as you critically think, perhaps you will begin to change your own mind. I want you to understand that this essay and presentation is designed to make you think, but it may not be comfortable for all people. Before I begin, you'll need three critical thinking skills. And I talk about this all the time, and I will always talk about this before I begin an essay, because you need to understand the language of racism. And I call these the three C's of navigating through the language system of racism and white supremacy. And these three C's are comprehension. Comprehension is the essence of understanding what you are saying, being told, or reading, or the ability of one's mind to form and craft imagery and concepts from the words, sentences being spoken, or read, or heard. The second is context, and it is the ability to understand the circumstances that form the setting for an event, statement, or idea, and in terms through which it can be fully understood and assessed. Context. I get it mixed up every time. I'm talking about context, not connotation. That's the next one. Excuse me. So, again, context is the ability to understand the circumstances that form the setting for an event, statement, or idea, and in terms through which it can be fully understood and assessed. And finally, last but not least, is connotation. Now, connotation is the ability of the words to summon emotion or an idea or feeling that a word invokes in addition to its literal or primary meaning. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, connotation is important because it is the feeling of the words. It's the expressive part. It's what makes you want to cry. It's what makes you want to laugh. It's the part of the words, sentences, and paragraphs from thought, which create the drama and cause people to react happily, sadly, violently, or otherwise. And that is connotation. Now, for purposes of this presentation, these are the definitions of race as color, race as character, racism, and white supremacy that we'll be using. Let me make sure that I'm being heard and that I have not frozen. Hold on one second. Okay, yeah, I don't think I'm freezing. But if anybody is in the chat or available in the chat, I would appreciate it if you would let me know if it is freezing or you can't hear me. Maybe you could put a 1 in the chat if you're around. Let's see. Let's go back in here. Okay. So, as I said before, for purposes of definitions of the terms that I use most often, here's race. Race refers to any one of the groups that humans are often divided into based on physical traits regarded as common among people of shared ancestry. Okay. Race as color. Color used to distinguish a race of people. Race as character. Race as character is used to distinguish people based on their character. Racism, and this is very important now for people to understand because there's so many misunderstandings about the term racism and what it actually means, especially in America. Now, in other countries, it may mean something else. But in the United States, racism is the systematic subjugation within established institutions in the U.S. through structurally designed discrimination and denial of opportunity, equity, equality, and justice built into every institution in the country. And that includes politics, labor, war, economics, everything. And it was done to control the formerly enslaved and their descendants in perpetuity after the enslavement ended, which meant just as slavery was inherited from generation to generation during the enslavement, the system of racism was an inherited caste. The next one is white supremacy. Now, white supremacy is the ideology using the color white as a tool and whiteness as a value and merit metric. You know what I mean when I say that? Where superiority and goodness aligns with the color white, that's the merit metric. And the color black and blackness are aligned as bad or inferior, each having been assigned generations ago to skin pigmentation. Now, I don't have the other two descriptions up here, but I will read them, and hopefully by the next essay or discussion, I will have those as well. The next one is whiteness, because you hear this often. You hear whiteness, white supremacy, racism, racist color, racist character in just about all of my discussions, one way or another. Now, whiteness is the theory. Okay, white supremacy is the ideology using the color white as a tool. Whiteness is the theory that skin pigment or the assignment of the color white to imply skin color, you getting that? Grants the individual with certain natural rights and privileges. The indoctrinated perception is of complete sovereignty over and above anything else on the planet Earth. And the reason why I say the planet Earth and not just the world is because they are attempting to move off planet, which means that they are beginning to spread their wings, so to speak, to conquer, their own words, conquer and colonize other planets. That's the goal. They done colonize as much as Earth as they can, and so now the new goal is to colonize off planet. The last one, the last definition is what I consider this the most important because it is what you might call the crux of the matter, and that is value. And value means the desirability of a thing, often in respect of some properties such as usefulness or exchangeability, worth, merit, importance. So when you consider uh, white supremacy and the value associated with that uh, merit metric of superiority and goodness or inferiority and badness, and the theory of skin pigment meaning the value of a human being or denoting the value of a human being, you understand where it all comes from, value. And it would take, as far as I'm concerned, a very, very insecure mind to take skin pigment and create value for that and set themselves above everyone else on the basis of that. So, without further ado, I want to talk about today's subject. A couple of days ago, I was on Facebook and I read a post by a person who follows me, and he's a white man. And every now and then we disagree on particular things, but he considers himself an ally. And he wrote a post that I thought was rather disarming and a bit alarming because he was suggesting that people should give certain Trump people the opportunity to be heard, whether we agree with them or not, as though there was something to discuss as a Black person. Of course, there isn't, as far as I'm concerned. So I wrote this essay, and it's called Democracy. Black America never had a true one to begin with. There is a gross misconception about democracy and the possibility of losing it in America today. In fact, gross misrepresentation might be the better term to use in describing the issue of America's democracy, fascism, and authoritarian rule, especially as those terms relate to American Black people. I came to the conclusion long ago that white people, whether considered allies or not, are under the mistaken impression that all Americans today live in a democracy. And the notion of an end to it is cause for Black America to intersect their collective body into the fray to discuss and debate the issue, both as an intellectual exercise and as a call to action. Now, this is not to imply Black America has no dog and pony in this show. Quite the contrary. Black America has lived without a true democracy since the enslavement. and especially since Reconstruction and the 13th through 15th Amendments. However, in order to understand the context of this essay, it will be important to comprehend what democracy is considered to be in America. See, this is one of those things that where I think that not a lot of people really know what democracy in America means. We take the word for granted. We do not understand what democracy is. So the B definition from Merriam-Webster comes the closest. A government in which and I want you to pay attention. Close attention. Put on your critical thinking caps and listen to the wording, because in every discussion, in every essay, in every presentation that I do, it is important for you to listen to the language so that you can understand what's being said. A government in which the supreme power is vested in the people and exercised by them directly or indirectly through a system of representation, usually involving periodically held free elections. A government in which the supreme power is vested in the people and exercised by them directly or indirectly through a system of representation involving periodically held free elections. There are also the terms, and if you know me, I'm going to give you words to consider. So that is democracy. There are also the terms enfranchise and disenfranchise. Both relate to democracy by conferring, quote, the privileges of a citizen and especially to the right of suffrage. Suffrage literally meaning the right of voting, or its synonym, franchise. Okay. And denying, quote, a franchise of a legal right or some privilege or immunity, especially depriving the right to vote, respectively. So, enfranchise meant the privileges of a citizen and especially the right to vote. And the other one is denying that privilege and or right to vote. Now, a small portion of civics or social studies we had in school taught us that that the United States holds elections on a local, state, and federal level, and in theory, the people are in charge. But here's the reality, folks. Black people have never really been in charge. We have never really been the quote supreme power vested in the people, because we have really never been considered part of the people. Are you understanding what I'm saying? So we have never really been in charge of anything political or relating to democracy. And what did we say democracy was? A government in which the supreme power, the supreme power is vested in the people. Even when we elect people for office in local, state, and federal venues, we are not considered. So recently I found myself in an online discussion that I'd mentioned to you here with a white individual about Trump voters, Trump supporters, and Trumpers, and how we should listen to Trump voters, whether we agree with them or not, implying there is a difference between the three types of Trump, of the Trump code, I guess you could call it. I must say the post intrigued me, and it was the inspiration for this essay. So I thank the individual who wrote it. Of course, the connotations behind the so-called differences in the three types didn't escape my emotions. I immediately and defensively said, unlike you, I am neither willing nor interested in listening to people who I already know want me dead or in bondage. So what I was basically saying is I don't give a crap if there are three particular types of Trump cultists. I know who Trump is. And a person who votes for Trump is still part of the other two groups, whether they're Trumpers or Trump supporters. This is where the distinction between the three types was explained, and of the three, the Trumpers were considered the worst, suggesting the Trump voter, the voter, was the ideal type to consider hearing out. Well, you already know how I feel about that. So I wrote this comment to him, and I am reiterating it here, why the idea of a discussion with a Trump voter is still ridiculous for me as a Black person in America with a descendancy bound to the enslavement. I do not treat politics in this country the same way as my white counterparts, and therefore have no use for the other side from the Bud Light faction of Trump types. I have lived experience with the other side of all three types. The truth of the matter is, white people have never experienced the kind of disenfranchisement. Remember, we talked about enfranchisement and disenfranchisement as it relates to America's form of democracy, which really just boils down to what do they call it? One man, one vote, one person, one vote. So now when you think of it in those terms, within that context, you understand that we have never really been in a democracy. Black people. The truth of the matter is, white people have never experienced the kind of disenfranchisement experienced by my descendants and I over the generations. They would never relate to the subjugation and suppression in terms of opportunity and access to the vote despite the 15th Amendment. And because of that, any discussion of politics and democracy is experienced differently for me, and I'm sure many other Black people. For me, discussions on the climate, economics, health, medicine, housing, and other issues are always going to be prefaced by systemic racism. To people who believe racism is open to debate over its efficacy and reality, or exists in a vacuum, is somehow only related to individual love and hate, or exists for both white and Black people as a shared experience, no. I will not be having any conversations to discuss the pros and cons. For me, democracy is enfranchisement. And until these same people stop suppressing my right to opportunity and access to democracy, then it will remain a gross misrepresentation to discuss democracy as though Black people have enjoyed it, with the very people now afraid to lose it. That is the end of that essay. As you could probably tell, I was a bit, how do I say, annoyed by the supposition that there could ever be a discussion with Trump voters or any other Trump devotee or Trump cultist relating to the subject of democracy or vote, as long as, or any, anything, because they don't have my lived experience. And guess what? They're not interested in my lived experience. And how do I know that? I know that because they've shown it time and time again. It's been expressed time and time again. If people show you who they are, you may believe them. How often have we heard that? How often have we heard that? Well, I see here that we actually do have some people here in the room. And I'm very happy to see that we have some people in the class. I see Deborah Davis. I see Sherry. Hi, Sherry. Hi, let me see. Hi, transcripts. And O.L. Griffin. Hi, how are you all? I'm glad to see you here. For anyone who I can't see, welcome. Please hit the like button on your way in or out. I would really appreciate that. Please hit the like button. I hear that is something that everyone in the YouTube sphere believes that is important. And I also want to thank everybody who have subscribed thus far. I believe I have 839 or so subscribe light bulbs today. And that makes me very, very happy because that means that at some point somebody went in, listened to an essay or two or three, and is better for that. Because I guarantee you, when you listen to some of the things that I post, you will come away with a way of thinking that kind of is like a light bulb going on. This is why I'm so happy that I got that description. I think that was my friend Ruthless and a few other people, Latrice, who were discussing that with me about getting a tag, something that we could all share. And that's what we are. We are light bulbs. Anyway, that was the essay for today. I wasn't planning on staying on here long. However, if any among you are interested in coming up, I will put the link up so that you can come up and discuss this if you're interested. If not, that's fine. I will close out. I'll leave it up here for a few. And if you'd like to come up and discuss anything that I talked about here today about democracy and how you feel about it, maybe you didn't understand, maybe you didn't know. Did you know that that was what democracy was? We hear it batted around. We hear it in the media all the time because everybody is so afraid now. They're so afraid. They say, we're going to lose our democracy. We're going to turn into a fascist government. If you know what fascism is, then you know that it also includes racism as part of its doctrine. And so we've literally been experiencing through the suppression and subjugation and disenfranchisement, we've been living in a form of fascist government already. So when I hear white people talk about losing democracy, it kind of takes me back a little bit, because I'm saying, really? Now that you're afraid that Trump is going to do something to you, now you're afraid of losing democracy. Now, we've been fighting for the very rights that white people are now afraid of. And I mean, how many times have people said it will begin to happen to you? You can't, we're the vanguard, Black people. When we fight for democracy, we're fighting for democracy. When we talk about democracy, we're really talking about democracy, the right to vote, where the supreme power is vested in the people, and we are included in the people. And thus far, we have not been included in the people. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when we talk about democracy, we're real about it. White people don't even understand what it means not to live in a democracy here in America. Not unless they want to talk to a Black person about it. But heretofore, nobody's really been interested in talking about it with us, because they don't want to believe that the system of racism is part of a fascist regime in this country, where we are disenfranchised and subjugated, and the right to access and the opportunity to vote is suppressed regularly. I mean, I think they said 28 or more states already have draconian voter suppression laws. Other states have gerrymandered themselves to the point where we don't vote for them, they pick us. I think if ever there was a time for white people to listen to Black people, it would be now. Not for a white person to say we should listen to Trump voters to see what they see. We might come to a meeting of the minds. That has to be the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Yes, O.L. Griffin, our fight for democracy is in essence to avoid extinction genocide. Yeah, it is existential. Yes, yes, it's it's exactly right. Because if we lose our fight for democracy, for the opportunity to be part of the people, as it relates to voting, as it relates to our enfranchisement in this government, they will. I'm not going to say they might, but because they will try to turn that clock back to where my parents and my grandmother's parents had to cross the street or turn their gaze away if a white person was on the same street walking toward them. That's what they would do. We would not be able to create our own schools because there are laws in place now, through the Department of Education, which was actually designed to help us, but it doesn't anymore. But and through that Department of Education, we are required to go to their state sponsored schools and local city sponsored schools. Or if we try to create one for ourselves, there's an enormous amount of paperwork and licensing that has to be done. So anyway, I don't know. There's really not that much more that I can talk about with regard to this. It's something for you to think about. There was a little something on my community tab a few days ago. I wrote something and I gave a picture. Hold on one second. I provided a picture. I'm getting ready to go to that right now. And I just lost a subscriber. Anyway, I hate that. Anyway, I wrote, it was a couple of days ago, 2 days ago. I said, I want to find out if anyone knows what is still wrong with these two pictures. And I showed two pictures. One said equality and one said equity. And you can go on my community page and look at it. There are 3 people standing behind a fence, and equality shows them all on equal sized boxes. But even though they're on equal sized boxes, one of the people is tall enough to see over really well. Another one can just see over. And the third is too small to see over. So the third one looks through a crack in the gate. Then you have equity, where the one who is the smallest has 2 boxes. So now the smallest person can see over the fence. The next to the smallest has 1 box and can see over just about the same way that this person could see before, because that person didn't need another box. And of course, the tallest one can see without even having to need a box at all. So I said, I want to find out if anyone knows what is still wrong with these two pictures. You will need the 3 C's. I talked about those. I talk about them every time I have a discussion, an essay, a presentation. So I said, look hard. Pay attention. When I talk about the community page, it's on YouTube. You follow the tabs and you can see home, video, shorts, live, playlists, community, things like that. So I said, most often, it is the obvious that is the hardest to see in a racialized context, when that very context is meant to gaslight. make you think you're seeing something else. Hey, baby Shay. Hi, baby Shay 81. So there is a common denominator in both pictures. So get an opportunity, go over there and look. So I said, okay, enough hints. Critical thinking caps on. What's wrong with these pictures? And I give you those pictures so you can see. Now today, because I didn't have that much of a reaction, and I had there were 16 people who gave a thumbs up, but I didn't get any comments. And these, when I put things on my community wall, I'm putting them there for a oh, thank you, baby Shay. I put them there for a reason. I also have another book. It was my dissertation that I turned into a book. It's called Writing While Black, exploring, what is it? Damn, it's been so long since I did it. Exploring, it's about, my dissertation was about Black writing and how it is portrayed in this country, and whether there is a difference between Black writing and white writing and things of that nature, which is oh boy, I tell you, my before I get back to this thing, my experience working toward my doctorate was very, very interesting. I know that I got into the program based on affirmative action. I know I did. And I'm thankful for that, because I did not have I was a director of information technology. My undergrad degree is in information technology. I'm a geek. I'm a nerd. I was into tech for almost 40 years. And my master's degree is in writing studies. I'm a writer. I write. I'm a wordsmith. This is why my focus in my mission to educate us on these types of racialized things. It has to do specifically with the wording and that type of thing. And when I got into my program, I experienced so much bias that my dissertation advisor even told me, when I was writing, he said, you're going to have to start citing your work as you work on your dissertation, because I don't see any citations here. I said, you're not going to, because they're mine. What I'm saying in this dissertation, in this introduction in my dissertation, is original. It's coming from me. So unless you want me to cite myself, then and I explained a few things to him, and so he understood. And I was told by some people that I write too aggressively, and what was interesting was, my youngest son's girlfriend is white, and she was reading my dissertation with me, going over it. And she said, you know, my professors always told me that I need to write more aggressively. I write too passively. I said, that is a hell of a lot interesting. I said, because I'm told the complete opposite. Instead of saying words like, in fact, I have this in there as part of my dissertation, where words like I am, it does, had to be replaced with it may. That may have an effect, or not it does have an effect. It may have an effect. I had to put in what I called softener words. If you want to hear my dissertation, it's on YouTube. I decided to record it not as it was happening, but I went back and I recorded it so that it could be shared, and you'll get to hear what I said as part of my dissertation, or as my dissertation, where I say, I talk about all of that. I talk about how I had to use softener words, and the fact that I had a master's degree, summa cum laude, 3.9125. I was being questioned as to the legitimacy of my own writing. Oh, yeah. I got a 4.0 in my doctorate program. That means no B's. None. That means A, 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 A. And the only reason why I went down a peg in my master's program was because of Dr. Green. God love Dr. Green. Dr. Green got angry with me because she said I should focus more on sex. Her class was called Writing Through Race, Class, and Gender. And of course, my forte is race. So my focus was on race. And she got angry a few times and told me that I ought to talk more about gender and more about feminism and not so much about race. And she could not stand my guts and gave me a B in my master's program. And that's what dropped my 4.0 that I could have come away with during my master's program. It dropped from a 4.0 to a 3.9125. But I said, you know what? That was no sweat off my brow, no sweat on my back, because I went back to school and got my doctorate in education with a concentration in higher education, and got no B's. Not that a B is bad, but I was determined to finish my educational career with a 4.0, and that B knew it. She knew it. So anyway, getting back to this equality, equity picture, today I went back and I was wondering whether anybody had actually really paid attention to it. So I said a while ago, I posed a question. What is the common denominator in this picture? What is still wrong with it? So I created a poll. And I also said, sometimes it's the obvious is the hardest to find. And it's because racism is so insidious that it would make people think this is the difference between equity and equality. I mean, you look at it and you go, oh, okay. And it's used widely. This particular picture is used so often in presentations and other forms of communication whenever they want to show what it means to be equal and what it means to be equitable. And then I looked at it. And see, because I never look at anything in this country, anything that has anything to do with the United States of America, without my lenses on. If you remember, I don't know whether you remember this movie. There was a movie. There was a movie. I forget the name of it, but every time they put on a pair of glasses, the people turned into nuts or something. I mean, they turned into monsters. Was it They Live? I think it was They Live. And they were taking over the world. And you couldn't see them if you just walking around. You couldn't see them. And so I always walk with my glasses on, with my lenses on. I do, because I'm gonna see right through it. So I said, did anyone? I said, I said, but here's the thing, and I want you to pay attention to it the next time you look at it. Neither picture shows people inside of the gate where they wouldn't need anything to see because they'd be a part of it. They would not be segregated out of it. Just because you give them boxes and you give one 2 boxes and one box, and then the other one don't need no. Just because you do that, you are not including them. Both pictures show them still outside of the game, where you see all the crowd inside the game enjoying the game. They on the damn outside looking in still. So I've only had 7 votes, which, I want more of you to really, more than anything, I want more of you to begin to engage with me. I really do. I want you to engage with me. When I put these things on the community wall, I'm doing it for a reason. I want you to engage with me. I want you to pay attention and engage. I'm not going to say it's out of fear or anything like that. I've been told I can be a bit intimidating, and it's not that I mean to. It's just that I'm very confident about what I am doing. But I want you to engage me. I want you to engage with me. So with that being said, do go on that community wall. It's a YouTube community wall on my channel. And I have the post and the poll that says I saw it immediately. Right now it's at 43%. I didn't see that at all. That's at 57%. And I figured it out eventually. That's at 0%. So 43% actually saw it and they understood. And 57% said they didn't see it at all. And it's actually that 57% that I'm most interested in, because that 57% of those 7 votes see it now. The light bulb went on when they looked. And I believe they were better for it because they got a chance to see what was really going on. Because, if you look at this and you think in terms of affirmative action, this is what they're trying to convey, which is false. Do you understand what I'm saying? If your goal is to include and to have them inside and fully participating, you don't need to give them boxes to see over the fence. You don't need to and call it equality, and you don't need to give them one person an extra box so they can see over the fence. Are you getting me? Are you catching me? Are you understanding what I'm saying? Hi, Deb. Did I mention you, Deborah? I hope I mentioned you already. So you see what I'm saying, right? And this is why I want you to engage me more. Because if you do, I'll put up more of this stuff. I'll put up more posts. It's encouraging to me to know that I am being engaged, that you are paying attention, that your light bulbs are on. That your light bulbs are on. Hey, Deborah, if I didn't mention you before, hit that like button. people over people over on Facebook, come to YouTube to my channel, hit the hit the like button. But they say hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. Please hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. I would really, truly, truly appreciate it. Yeah, I do want you to engage me. Do engage. Do engage. I even have from a day ago, I have the discussion that I had with the individual the other day, which prompted this essay. Because he says to me, I know this won't be, not to just me. He posed it as a question. You know how on Facebook you have those posts, and he says, I know this won't be popular. So he right away, he knew that what he was saying wasn't going to be popular. But I think that he was being controversial for a reason. But see, he says, I know this won't be popular, but I need to do better listening to my Trump supporter friends. We do need to listen to all thought processes, even if we don't agree. And see, white people can say that. White people can do that. They can have Trump supporter friends. They can have Trump voter friends. They can have Trumpers in the camps. They can do that because that's where a lot of them exist for them. But somebody like me, I'll be damned. I'll be damned. You're going to see me talking to no Trumper, Trumpster, nobody of that ilk to see their point of view. I already know their point of view. It's expressed. It's always expressed. That's just like them saying that I heard somewhere where they said January the 6th wasn't racial. It wasn't anything, they didn't see anything racial in it. And yet, one out of every two flags was Confederate. They see what they want to see. So for them to discuss democracy as though it's something that we all share in as Americans is absolutely ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. And that's something I refuse to engage in. So I'm glad that I have the people in the class that I have today. I'm so thankful. I appreciate you all. Like I said before, I don't mind my small classes. Sometimes it's okay to teach to a small class, long as those light bulbs come on. Do remember to hit that like on the way out. Do remember to share this video. with people who you think will be interested in the content. And I appreciate the subscribers. I appreciate all my light bulbs. I am hoping to get to 1,000 because I just think that's a nice round number. That means I got 1,000 light bulbs lit out there. You know, my mission is to educate. That's my mission. I'm 69. I'll be 70 in December. And for the time that I have left on this earth, this is what I'm going to be doing. And I'd like to bring you all along with me on this journey, on this ride. So with that, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.